What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Lorraine Aston, and you are right now turned into the Pure Blackness Podcast, the blackest podcast on the podcast pod.
Period. Hey y'all, it's your favorite cousin at the cookout. You already know what it is. This is Monica Makita, and you are tuned into another episode of the Pure Blackness Podcast. This is where we discuss everything that it is about our dope ass blackness, and of course, is right at the intersection of blackness and everyday life. One thing that I absolutely have always loved about us, and that I credit to, it's really the key to our resiliency, is our ability to make some shit funny, okay? One thing about Black folks, baby, it could be a pandemic, it could be a damn shootout. Honey, we're gonna find something to laugh at. So comedy is so important to me. I love a good stand-up. I love all of the dope comedians on Instagram that's making all this dope content. So I'm super excited today to have one of my favorites. I mean, be killing me, y'all. That City Trends video had me on the floor dying. I'm so excited to introduce y'all to our new cousin, because we don't have guests, we don't have followers, we don't have none of that, baby. We family. So I'm super excited to introduce y'all to our new cousin, stand-up comedian, amazing content creator, Rae. That's it.
That's it, baby. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. I'm excited to be here. You know, I love any time that I'm included with anything Black. You know what I mean? Yes. Bring me on. I'm ready to, let's chat it up. Let's get the tea.
Yes. Because I love that. I love that you had made that video quoting Dr. Umar. That shit had me weak too.
And I tell you, because one thing about it, don't get it messed up. He is a fool, but when he right, he right. When you right,
that's my grandma used to say a broke clock is right at least twice a day. So he do get it right sometimes. But like I said, as I can tell, I am a fan. I've been following her work for a while. But for everyone who isn't so familiar, tell them a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and how you got started in comedy.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Virginia, 757, you know what I mean? Stand up, bad news, baby. I'm from Newport News. I went to school at Norfolk State, and then I kind of just did stuff, did whatever, worked and everything like that. But I didn't start comedy until, I want to say 2018. I was already like 28. I was like, you know, I was just looking for something to do because I had grown up doing theater and choir and just performing. And it was when Snapchat came out. Like, I guess probably not when it came out, but when I got on it, and I just used to vent about my day job all the time. And people were like, yo, you should really do stand-up. Like, you should do stand-up. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. You know, I'm gonna just try it. Like, I'm not a shy person. So, you know, what's the worst that could happen? And I wrote like some whack ass jokes. I mean, some terrible jokes. Like some terrible jokes, but I got on stage at my home club in Newport News. It's called Kazi's Comedy Club.
Yeah,
and I did like
three. Definitely have been there.
Okay, you've been there, yeah. And so did like 3 minutes, and I guess, you know, when I look back at my old comedy, sometimes it's like, why did they laugh at that? Like, what? that was not funny. You know what I mean? But I think it was just me, my personality. Like, it wasn't the jokes. It was just me and how I was saying it. So yeah, I'll be going into my fifth year in 20, you know, coming up. And so yeah, that's kind of like, I literally just tried it and I just loved it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it comes very natural to you. I think that's why I enjoy your content so much, because you can tell when somebody's like trying to be funny, and then it just like, that's borderline like corny, like, oh, they trying too hard, like, but it's like, I genuinely feel like you my cousin that just be funny as hell in the house with us. Like you be at grandma's house just having us laugh. So
and
like I
love that.
definitely love that, you know, it's so organic for you.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how, and one thing that I've loved, like this last year, you have been killing it with the content, blowing up on TikTok, which I love because, you know, the kids try to act like TikTok is just for them. Nah, we got this.
Yeah, whole time we started the internet for real. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like they wasn't outside with the AOL packets. You know what I mean?
Okay.
When you had to get the new CD every 30 days, they weren't outside for that.
They were not outside for that, like having to where you can either be on the phone or you can be on the internet, but you can't do both. Like they don't know about that.
Exactly.
So I love that you've been able to like carve your own lane in the TikTok world. Like, how do you balance creating your own? Because the thing about TikTok is like everything kind of grows with the trend in the algorithm. So right. It's a lot of, I mean, even in the entrepreneur space, I see so many people mimicking what other businesses are doing. And I know, I mean, I've heard the comedians rant about that as well. So for one, how do you balance like creating your own original content and making sure that it's unique to your voice? And just balance creating them, period, because those TikToks might be short little videos, but that's a lot of work. So like, right. So how do you, you know, maintain your authentic voice and putting it in this this landscape that is TikTok and just balancing the creativity of it all?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because it's like, you know, for people that just feel like, especially when you mention businesses, like I think for businesses, it's cool to follow trends, like, you know, just whatever's going to get you in the algorithm, whatever's going to, you know, make people want to follow you. But I think as a comedian and just as a creative person, my whole life, I've been creative. Yeah. Like creative integrity is so important to me. Like I don't get any satisfaction about copying something that somebody else has done or riding anybody's wave. Like I could get 1 million likes on a video, but if it was just like, you know, a trend, something that I, you know, kind of was riding somebody else's wave, I would get no satisfaction from that. Like it would actually make me upset. Like, damn, that wasn't even my idea. Like, because even now, yeah. Even now, certain stuff that I do on TikTok, like when I'm really, okay, let me sit down. Let me think of a skit idea. You know, it don't even be doing like numbers like that. But then I could just be sitting on the couch like, hey, I'm going to just tell y'all something right now. Like, yeah, just be random stuff that pops up in my head. And I'm like, yo, let me tell y'all something right now. And people are like, you know what? She right. You know what I mean? So
yes, relatable content. Yes.
Relatable. Yeah. And a lot of times I'm not even, I think that's the cool thing about TikTok too, is that like the majority of my videos that are viral is like, I'm just like have my scarf on. Like I just woke up. I have no makeup on. I'm just, you know, in the house. And I think that's where entertainment is going. Like people are tired of influencers telling them they need to, you know, they need to be skinny, they need to have perfect skin, they just want real people to win. You know what I mean? Like they do. They want to see real people on top. So we just bring them to real. You feel me?
Absolutely. And speaking of that, I love that you've teamed up with other who they are funny as hell as well. Like I'm like, y'all really killing us with the trifecta. Yeah. You were able to start an improv group with Whole Squad Funny. Right. Which that title alone is like, that's perfect for y'all. Like, bro. Yeah. Like y'all be having me really weak. So like how did that come about with working with, you know, starting the group? And I know y'all have traveled, y'all have done shows in Georgia, South Carolina. So like how did that come about?
Right. Yeah. Thanks for bringing them up. So Whole Squad Funny is a group of me, my homegirl Randy Sky, and my homegirl Duchess. Randy's from South Carolina and Duchess is from Chicago. We all, because I didn't say this before, but I moved to Atlanta about 2 years ago. And, you know, it was actually just crazy. Like, you know, moving to a whole nother state and you have no family, like it is really, it's very hard. Like, especially I'm close with my family. So it was like really hard, but I just felt like that was something that I needed to do in order to take myself to the next level. Because to be honest with you, unless you live in LA, unless you live in New York, you live in Atlanta, anybody could be the funniest person in their town. You know what I mean? And I never wanted that for myself. That goes along with my creativity. Like, okay, I could be the funniest person in Newport News, but what does that really mean? You know? So I moved to Atlanta, immediately met Randy. I probably met her like maybe my second or third day out here. There's a really popular comedian out here named Mario Tori, and he came up to me like he knew me, and I was like, oh, okay. And so she came up and was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up finding out later that she thought I was on. That's why she came over there, because just the way Mario was talking to me.
That is funny.
But yeah, we ended up clicking, and we just started making content. And along the lines of that, we were like, well, shoot, we should do a show together. And so we ended up putting together the improv. Initially, when the pandemic had first hit, I started I was doing a scavenger hunt. Like, I would do it on live. I would just like tell people like, oh, go find this, go find that. So that was our first time really like working together and like being funny on camera, like spontaneously. So we're like, well, we should do some improv. And so we ended up getting a monthly show at Uptown Comedy Corner, which is like one of the, there's only really, well, there's like three, but for Black comedy, that's the top two. There's two of them out here. And so yeah, we got a show out there, and we do that monthly. They had to shut down for renovations, but when they come back, we'll have our show back. But yeah, so it's really dope. And what I really love about us is that we all have different voices. And so we can really appeal to a large group of people, because we all have a different viewpoint. And so there's really something for everybody. It's cool.
Yeah, I know. Even for me personally, there have been times in my journey of just being a creator, doing these things. It can get lonely at times. Like, not sometimes our friends which no shade, because pay your bills how you pay your bills. But like some of my friends who just have a 9-to-5 don't sometimes understand, like, no, I can't. I'm gonna come to happy hour. I'm gonna have one drink, but I'm gonna leave early because I got to go home and record this video.
Right.
So, how beneficial has it been for you to kind of have your tribe of your sisters and your squad with you during this journey of creating your brand and creating your content?
Like, honestly, I would say, like, if I would have never met them, I mean, I like to think of myself as a really strong person, but man, I don't know if I could have made it down here this whole time without them. You know what I mean? Just regardless of comedy, just, being able to talk to them and, fellowship with them. That's a word I like to use. I was raised in church, but fellowship is so important. You know what I mean? Just being able to talk to like minds and having people that encourage you, because my style of comedy is a lot different than most people down here. When I came down here, I had 15, 20 minutes that worked well up north, but I had to like change my whole, you don't change your voice because your voice is your voice, but you have to, enhance your performance and, go after different topics that you probably wouldn't mainly go, naturally go after. So just having them as a sounding board, and then just having somebody to be a voice for you in rooms that you haven't been in yet. You know what I mean? That's another thing too. Like, for my sisters to be able to speak up for me when I'm not there, like, oh, we're looking for this, we're looking for, oh, well, Lorraine, she could do that. You know what I mean? So like, that's so important. I shouldn't say hate, but I really dislike women that say they don't like women. Because like, what? Yeah. Like, you are a woman, babe. There's some deep underlying issues there. You need other women. It's just like when, people are adopted and they don't know their family and they have so many identity issues, It's like you have to know other women to really even understand yourself. So I'm very blessed. I love those girls. Y'all make sure y'all follow them too. I've never laughed harder than I do when I'm around them.
Seriously. Like y'all, like I said, y'all together is a brilliant. Like, I'm like, I don't know how this aligned, but it works.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was definitely serendipitous for sure.
Okay. So you spoke a little bit to because my thing too with this platform, I always want to give both sides of it. So yes, you had the success of, viral videos and all those good things, but I think we do need to start being a bit more transparent in this creator space of the rough times, because not every video, like, I mean, you kind of alluded to it earlier, not every video is given, it's not giving what you think it's gonna give.
Right.
Like, you're not getting the likes, you might not get the shares. Like, you can work all day on something and think it's gonna be the best thing, and people just scroll right by it. So I do want you, I know you mentioned, you know, relocating, which is a huge step to take for your career. But what are some of the other hardships that you run into in pursuing, you know, being a comedian and being successful in that?
I mean, you know, one of the hardest things in the world, and even on a small scale, you know, going back to the cafeterias, like everybody was being funny and you try to like be funny and it wasn't funny. That's hurtful. That hurts your feelings. Like that's really one of the worst feelings in the world, when you're trying to be funny and it's not hitting, you know?
That rejection is different, yeah.
That rejection is different. It's right in front of your face too, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, of course, trying new material and kind of thinking, man, like comedy is so personal. It's like, damn, this is so funny to me. This isn't funny to you. You know what I mean? But it's about, you know, keeping that idea, not scratching it automatically, because maybe there is something funny about it, you know, and just trying to bend your mind around, okay, what is funny about this? Like, what, you know, really just reworking it, you know, and taking it apart and saying, okay, well, I think, you know, just trying to rework it. That's hard. That's something. And one thing about Atlanta is like, they'll say an open mic, but they mean that very, very loosely. Like it's not really an open mic. Like they want you to come industry ready. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to find an open mic where you could really just relax and just try something. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was hard when I first moved out here to adjust to everybody's like sense of humor and just kind of try to tap into what I could. It's also hard being a woman in this industry because people automatically think that you're going to talk about certain subjects. Like everybody thinks that you're only going to talk about sex. Everybody thinks that you're only going to talk about being a mom. I'm not a mom. You know, I don't have those experiences. If I was a mom in comedy, it'd probably be a lot easier for me to relate with a lot of women, you know what I mean? But I don't have that experience. But yeah, just trying to really cultivate a voice that works everywhere, right? Because I don't want to be funny only in Virginia. I don't want to be funny only in New York. You know what I mean? Trying to cultivate a voice that really works everywhere and really talking about topics that people really care about. And I think that as a comedian, if you talk about things that you do care about, sometimes people don't even really have to care. It's just the way that you're saying it. But yeah, as being a woman, it's kind of hard. We get paid less. For sure, like absolutely 100%. We get paid less, we get less respect. Of course, you know, you have people that take you on the road just because like they're like, oh, I probably could, you know, I probably could get it. Like it'd probably be easy, you know, whatever like that. Dating is hard as a comedian because, you know, but I've always felt like this because I've always had like a social media profile and felt like men like the idea of me, but they're looking at me in like one dimension. Like I'm a real person, you know, I have a range of emotions. So they think like, oh, she a clown online. Like she gonna be like that all the time. Like, no, I cuss people out. Like, so yeah, I mean, it's very difficult, but I think that, you know, when I started comedy, I found my passion. I really found my passion. And for me, this is just what it is. It's not a choice for me. Like, this is what I am and this is what I will do. So for me, there's really no obstacle too great because I'm not a job person. I can't have a job. I've been fired from every job I've ever had. You know, this is my destiny. So I'm just going to work as hard as I can to get people to see that, you know?
Absolutely. And you have definitely been putting in the work, and it is working. Like your level of consistency, the original content that you put out, I think is what makes you such a shining light in the industry. And I know that you're definitely only going to keep going up because like I said, like we said, relatable content and like relatable to what we know. Like your voice is very unique in that. But of course, I have to know like who inspires you. Like who do you look up to? I don't want to like I hate to say this, but like who your favorite comedian?
Right. I mean, going back to just like Comic View back in the day, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I mean, you had just so many people, but I used to love when I was growing up. I loved Bruce Bruce. I thought Bruce Bruce was just so funny and silly, very silly. Like, cause I can be very serious, but I just sometimes you just love some silly shit. Like, you know what I mean? Let's see. I loved growing up. I loved Monica. I mean, I'm saying Monica because I'm looking at. I loved Monique growing up. I loved that she was, big. She was black, but she was fabulous. You know what I mean? And she commanded respect. And she was just so funny, just telling everyday regular stories. I'm around so many comedians now that like I love the comedians that y'all don't really know about yet. Like my homegirl Rainy Sky, my girl Duchess. There's a girl out of Milwaukee called Kelly Kells. I love Just Niche, Carlos Miller. There's a guy named Josh Johnson that's super duper duper funny. And he's like real intelligent with this, with stuff he says. And he gets in front of white people and just talk about their ass and let them hear, what about themselves. And they laugh at it because he's funny and he's masterful in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I used to love Ellen too. Ellen, I don't know, a lot of people don't know about Ellen stand-up, but she has stand-up specials and she's very funny also.
Okay. I have to ask because you mentioning your friend that does like the commentary where he's reading people for white people for film made me think of the recent stuff that's been going on with Chappelle. Like I know Chappelle's like a comedy god, but I definitely want to hear like what your take is on just doing and incorporating, because the thing about it is like with cancel culture and all of that, I feel like comedians have always been the pulse in the Black community anyway, to kind of just bear it all. Like you said, relating back to Def Comedy Jam and Comic View, we talked about political stuff. We just made it funny as fuck, but we talked about it. Right. Like we reference those things. So a lot of people are saying like, oh, comedians are trying to be politicians now. I don't know if I agree with that because I feel like it's always been there. But like, what's your take on the whole controversy with Dave Chappelle and just the comedy world in general and how they handle cancel culture in terms of the content and the topics that you address on stage?
Well, Dave Chappelle, like you said, is a GOAT. You know what I mean? He has mastered this craft. There's no subject that you could put in front of him that he couldn't make a joke about. I think that specifically, if we're talking about that last special, to me, there was things in there that I just, was it necessary? No, not really. But who gonna check him? Like at the end of the day, like he turned down how many $1 million to go to Africa?
$1 million.
There, you know what I mean? So it's nothing you can do about it. So it's like, would I say it? Do I necessarily agree with all of it? No, but this is what I will say, because I've thought about this a lot. If any group wants to be, because this is the thing about all comedians, we talk about everything. We talk about everybody. I have jokes in my set about, well, obviously me, my white mama, you know what I mean? She's going to get joked on. Like, that's just how it is. You know what I mean? I talk about gay people, and it's not talking about them. It's talking about the things that we all do. It's not who you are. It's what you do. That's comedy, right? But I think that if any group really wants to be integrated into society, that they have to allow themselves to be examined just like everybody else. And that's the main thing, is like, you can't want to be a part of mainstream society, but then you want to be excluded from getting joked on. Like, that doesn't work, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. So I think that we do live in polite society. We have to watch the certain things that we say, but like, if it's funny, it's funny. I don't think, if it's not promoting, like, I believe strongly that everybody deserves to live a happy life, a life, they don't deserve, any violence perpetrated against them. but you got to take a joke. And I think that the majority of transgender people and gay people are very humorous people and people that can take a joke. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But there always has to be those people that say, no, this isn't funny, because that's just the way that the world works. That's how you keep balance. But that's my thought. If you want to be part of society, baby, you're going to have to take a joke or two.
Yeah, it's equal opportunity jonesing around here.
For sure.
Like, we all get fried, honey.
Everybody, I get fried on the daily. On the daily, I get fried. So yeah, you got to take these jokes.
Yeah. That's so funny you mentioned that you joke on your mom. Like, how does your family feel about you incorporating them into the jokes?
Oh, they love it. They love to be a part of my act, especially my mom. She'll literally send me something that she did and be like, yeah, you should make a joke about this. My mom
wants trying to help with the content. Yes, mama.
Yes, my mom wants to be a part of my act so bad. But yeah, I mean, my mom, if I didn't have the mom that I have, I probably wouldn't even be a comedian. She's a character. She's an entertainer in herself. You know what I mean? Like, she's a trip for sure. Like, my mom thinks she can make anything. I don't care what store you're at, what restaurant you're at. She's going to tell you, I can make this. Like, this is nothing. This is easy.
Your mom and I have that in common, because I'll be in the most fanciest of restaurants looking like, oh, they put a little cilantro in here. Yeah, I could make this.
Be breaking down every ingredient. Like, well, this was Gouda, and it wasn't even a good one. It was from Food Lion. Like, this wasn't even Whole Foods Gouda.
That is too funny. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? How do you want to grow your brand? How do you want to expand everything that you're doing 5 years from now? What would you like to see?
I think, like, when you're talking about role models or people that you can kind of look up to, is like Issa Rae for me is like huge. Like, I started watching her show Awkward Black Girl way back in the YouTube days.
Yes.
I stand over that show. I loved it. It was so, because I think to touch on this really quick too, something great that's happening in the Black community right now is we've always said we're not a monolith, but now we're really starting to show that, like, there's so many layers. Just like there's different types of white people. What would make you think that there's not different types of Black people? You know what I mean? So for me, when I saw her doing that, man, it was just such a great awakening. So, like, I'm working on writing a script, I hope, even if I don't play in my own show, like, that's fine with me. But I just really want to write something that's just amazing, and like people love it and they laugh and they looking over at the next person that's in the room like, did you hear that? You know what I mean? Like, right. I really will hope to have a show, you know what I mean, in the future. And of course, I hope to get on tour and just go around the country and, just be an entertainer. I just want to entertain people. Like, that's my calling. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. So yeah, I definitely hope to have been, if we're going to talk in 5 years, I hope I had, at least one show on air somewhere, you know what I mean? And hopefully have already done like at least one nationwide tour for sure.
Absolutely. I love it. I always like to ask that question because I want you to be able to pull this interview up, like, when you're there, and you can just use this little clip. Just make sure you shout me out, girl. That's all.
No doubt. I got you.
But I do love that, you've stated that this is something that really is organic to you. It's genuinely your passion. For those that are out there that are listening who are interested in this, like, they may, be the funny person amongst their friends, but they have this desire to kind of step out and do more, but they're not sure how, or they're shy, or they don't feel like it will be received, or whatever it is that's hindering them. If you could speak to that person, what's some advice that you would give someone that's like, yo, comedy is for me, I'm stuck? What would you say?
Yeah. Well, it's really scary to put yourself out there, and no matter what it is, because I've done other businesses. I had a vintage business, I had a streetwear business, and it's always really scary to put yourself out there. But I think one thing that's very important is to know that, the audience that you're looking for, you don't know them. Okay. Your friends and your family, hopefully they're supportive, but if they're not, that's okay, because that's not who you're looking for. The people that are going to support you the most, you have never met them yet. And you're gonna have to step out of your boundary or your comfort zone to understand that. Specifically, if you want to do comedy, I think, again, going back to family and friends, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Go home, start a journal, write down your day. And then from there, and don't think about it, just write your day down. Don't try to be funny, just write it down. And then from there, you go back and you pick out what is funny. Okay. You go back and you pick out like, oh yeah, this is kind of funny. And then you add on to it and you elaborate on it. And if it was about a man, what kind of man? How'd he look? You know, what was funny about him? You know what I mean? And then you go, just like literally Google, and if you don't know in your city, just Google open mic comedy. There's at least one in every city in this country. There's at least one open mic. You don't tell anybody, okay? Tell them that you're going to dinner or whatever it is you're gonna do, but you go there, you sign up, and you do your shit, man. Just do it. You know what I mean? And don't even worry about being funny. Don't. Just get up there and be yourself, the funny self that you think you are. And I'm gonna say this too: if nobody in your life ever told you you're funny, don't do comedy, because you're not. You're not funny, and you're wasting time. I don't know. I don't. If nobody,
wait, that's not what I expected you to say.
if nobody,
I thought you were gonna be like, and it's okay. You can become funny.
No, it's not okay. You can't become funny. You can become a better joke writer. You could become a better performer. But what you can't do, comedy is about surprise, and it's about performance, really. And timing. That's what I was trying to get to. It's about timing. If you don't have comedic timing, you could be an accountant still. There's still time for you to do that. There's still time for you to, you can be a call center manager. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things you can do, but comedy's not one of them.
I cannot.
A lot of people, people feed their families off that. So
not stay down to the call center, child.
But even still, you could probably, this is the thing, could be a comedy writer too, but everybody is just not going to be a stand-up comedian. Everybody is not going to be a comedic actor. But there's a lot of people in a lot of writing rooms on all of your favorite shows that have never touched the stage. So that's another, there's so many outlets that you can do, you know what I mean? But yeah, just try it, man. But that was the one thing I didn't tell anybody. The first time I did my first open mic, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want my family to be there and my friends to be there, like rooting me on. Like I wanted to know if I was genuinely funny or not, So I think that's a big one.
Okay, I think that's definitely great advice. Because I feel like we're always like social media, like hustle culture is really annoying to me because we always see memes that's like, if they not what you shooting in the gym, if y'all can say happy birthday to a celebrity but can't repost your friend's stuff. Like, it's like, honestly, all of the money that I've made, I didn't make it off my family. Right. like bless my mama heart, she buys something all the time, but it's like, that one or two purchases from my mom is not what's like keeping my business thriving. So I love that you're like, don't hone in on that so much, because I feel like social media puts so much emphasis on that.
Yeah, and, it's not. I mean, do you think Walmart is big because he had a big family and they was all coming there buying stuff? No, like, come on, so.
Yes. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I really appreciate you for sharing your time and joining us in this space just to tell your journey. And like, this was an interview and you still were funny. Like, I can't.
I'm glad.
But I do have one more question, and I want you to, then after that, we'll, let everyone know where they can follow you and they can support you. But this is the Pure Blackness podcast. So of course, I have to know, I ask this to all of my guests, what is your best Blackness moment? Like that moment that just felt like peak Blackness, like it could be something that you experienced, something you did, something you've seen, where you was just like, yo, that is Black and I love it.
Man, let me tell you, there's so many moments. And I was thinking about this earlier. But I'm gonna have to go with when Nene Leakes said, "I said what I said."
Yes.
It doesn't really get no blacker than that or no clearer than that. She said what she said and she meant what she said. And if you don't like it, it's too bad.
Yes.
And that is now in the American lexicon. I would go as far as saying it's in the world. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's just a black ass moment that I just love and quote daily.
Yes. I must say, Lanithia Leaks is a part of my existence. Yeah. I probably quote her more than any of the housewives from any franchise.
She's too good.
I don't care how many seasons. It's needy for me.
Not the white refrigerator. Oh.
Honey, listen, I did not move into an apartment because I was like, oh no, this is a white refrigerator. No, I'm good.
Nobody can literally. She put white refrigerators out of business.
Like single-handedly with that comment. It was over. It was over. But yes, thank you again so much. Let everybody know where they can follow you, how they can support you. Any of all of your social media handles, just everything, so they can definitely tap into this comedic greatness here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Y'all can find me on everything pretty much at Love Ray. That's it. LUHRAYDASSIT. You can find me on everything under that. Definitely follow me on Instagram. I think my TikTok really gets the most of my attention at this point. So, we have a lot of fun over there.
So you killing it on TikTok.
A lot of stuff I don't even post on Instagram anymore, but so definitely follow me on TikTok for sure. If you're a Facebook person, you can just find me. You can literally just type in Love Ray and you'll find me. I'm up there talking shit to people's aunties,
I love it. I love it. I love that you are the cousin that does the things that I cannot do. I love that. Like, I just
go
be
for
watching
it.
like, yes, say that shit, yeah.
And see, people try to tell me all the time, like, well, why do you have to say something? Because you have to embrace your role in life. That's the person that I am. I've always been that person. I got to say it because everybody not like me, and I don't like seeing people suffer. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to speak on it for everybody, and we're going to put it to bed.
Yeah, I love it. Again, y'all, this is our cousin, because y'all know we are family, honey. So again, this is our cousin, Lil Ray. And make sure you guys follow her, support her, tap into the comedic genius. You will be seeing her again. You will be hearing her jokes. You will be getting into this. Like, I'm telling y'all. And just remember, be like, oh yeah, I remember her from that podcast. Like, yeah, because it's coming. So let's give her flowers now. Let's put that spotlight on her now to continue to uplift and empower her. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And kind of like we spoke about, comedy is essential. Comedy is us. It's who we are as a people. Embrace it. Embrace who you are. Embrace your Blackness, because, baby, it is beautiful. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Pure Blackness podcast. This is Monica Makita. And make sure y'all come around Grandmama House next week, because we're doing it all over again with a new cousin and another interview. So come through. Love y'all. Peace.